Part 1. I thought our nanny was perfect. Emily had worked for our family for almost a year. She was kind to our daughter Lily, always arrived on time, and seemed to care about our family. Even my husband Daniel trusted her completely. At least, that was what I believed. One rainy evening, I came home later than usual. Lily was already asleep, and Emily had gone home. Daniel was sitting on the couch watching television. Everything looked normal. But the next morning, something strange happened. Lily ran into the kitchen holding her favorite teddy bear. "Mommy, listen to this!" The bear was one of those toys that could record and repeat sounds. Lily pressed its paw. First, I heard her laughing. Then I heard Emily's voice reading a bedtime story. I smiled. But suddenly another recording played. A man's voice. Daniel's voice. I frowned. Why was Daniel in Lily's room during bedtime? Then Emily laughed. Not the polite laugh she used around us. A different laugh. A flirtatious laugh. My stomach tightened. Before I could listen further, Lily accidentally pressed another button and erased the recording. I tried to ignore it. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe Daniel had simply helped Emily put Lily to bed. But a small seed of doubt had already been planted in my mind. Over the next few days, I started noticing things. Emily and Daniel avoided looking at each other when I was nearby. Sometimes I would walk into a room and they would suddenly stop talking. One afternoon, I found Daniel smiling at his phone. When he noticed me watching, he locked the screen immediately. "Who was that?" I asked. "Just work." His answer came too quickly. That night, I could not sleep. The strange recording kept replaying in my head. The next morning, Emily arrived as usual. She greeted me with a warm smile. For the first time, that smile felt fake. I decided to do something I had never done before. I took Lily's teddy bear. While nobody was watching, I secretly turned on the recording function. Then I placed it back in Lily's room. If nothing was happening, I would feel foolish. But if my instincts were right, the little toy might reveal the truth. 3 days passed. Nothing unusual. Then, on Friday evening, Emily offered to stay late. "You two deserve a date night," she said. Daniel immediately agreed. Too quickly. I pretended not to notice. We left the house together, but after driving for only 10 minutes, I told Daniel I had forgotten my wallet. His face suddenly became nervous. "I'll wait in the car," he said. "No need, I'll be quick." I entered the house quietly. The lights were off downstairs. I could hear Emily upstairs with Lily. I grabbed my wallet and left. Nothing suspicious. Yet something still felt wrong. The next morning, after Emily went home, I picked up Lily's teddy bear. My hands were shaking. I pressed the play button. At first there were normal sounds. Lily laughing, Emily singing, a bedtime story. Then the recording changed. A door closed. Footsteps. A man's voice. Daniel. And then I heard words that made my blood run cold. "She suspects nothing." Emily laughed softly. And then the recording ended. Part 2. I sat frozen on the edge of my bed. The teddy bear rested in my hands. I replayed the recording again and again. Every time I heard Daniel say, "She suspects nothing," my heart sank deeper. I wanted to confront him immediately. I wanted to call Emily and demand answers. But I stopped myself. A recording was not enough. I needed the whole truth. That evening I acted completely normal. I made dinner. I laughed at Daniel's jokes. I pretended everything was fine. Meanwhile, I started paying closer attention. The next few days revealed things I had ignored before. Daniel suddenly cared much more about his appearance. He started wearing expensive cologne even on weekends. Emily began arriving earlier than usual. Sometimes I noticed them exchanging quick glances when they thought I was not looking. One afternoon, Lily was drawing pictures at the kitchen table. I looked through her drawings while she colored. Most were simple pictures of our family. Then one drawing caught my attention. There were 4 people: me, Lily, Daniel, and Emily. The 4 figures were holding hands. "That's a nice drawing," I said carefully. Lily smiled. "We all played together while you were at work." My stomach tightened. "Did Daddy play with you often?" "Sometimes," she answered innocently. "When you were not home." That night, I could barely sleep. The next morning, I came up with a plan. I told Daniel that I had to leave town for a business conference and would spend the night at a hotel. His reaction was immediate. "Really?" For a split second, he looked excited. Then he quickly hid it. "That sounds great," he said. "I mean, good for your career." The following Friday arrived. I packed a small suitcase and kissed Lily goodbye. I hugged Daniel. Then I drove away. But I never went to any hotel. Instead, I parked a few streets away and waited. Hours passed. Finally, just after 8 in the evening, I saw something. Emily's car pulled into our driveway. My heart started racing. Why would the nanny come to our house at night when she was not working? I waited another 10 minutes. Then I quietly walked toward the house. The living room lights were on. Through the window, I could see movement. I stepped closer. My hands trembled. I looked inside. Daniel was there. Emily was there. They were sitting together on the couch. Too close. Much too close. I could not hear their conversation, but I could see them laughing. Then Daniel placed his hand over hers. My chest felt like it had been crushed. Tears filled my eyes. Still, I forced myself to stay calm. I needed proof. Real proof. I quietly moved to the side of the house. An upstairs window was slightly open. Voices drifted through the night air. Daniel was speaking. "I can't keep hiding this forever." Emily answered softly. "What if she finds out?" Daniel laughed. "She never will." At that exact moment, my phone slipped from my hand. It hit the ground with a loud crack. The voices inside stopped immediately. Silence. Then I heard footsteps rushing toward the front door. I ran. I jumped into my car and drove away before anyone could see me. My heart pounded the entire way home. Now there was no doubt. They were hiding something. But one question still haunted me. Was it really an affair? Or was there an even bigger secret they were trying to keep from me? The answer came the next morning, and it was far worse than I could have imagined. Part 3. The next morning, I woke up exhausted. I barely slept. The image of Daniel and Emily sitting together kept replaying in my mind. I knew I could not continue living with questions. I needed the truth. That afternoon, Emily arrived to watch Lily. For the first time, I looked directly into her eyes. She seemed nervous, almost guilty. I waited until Lily was playing in her room. Then I said the words I had been holding back. "Emily, we need to talk." Her face instantly turned pale. Before she could speak, Daniel walked into the kitchen. The room became silent. I placed the teddy bear on the table. "I know about the recordings." Neither of them said a word. "I saw you together." Daniel lowered his head. Emily looked like she was about to cry. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Daniel finally took a deep breath. "There is something you don't know." I laughed bitterly. "You're having an affair. What else is there to know?" Emily suddenly shook her head. "No." Tears appeared in her eyes. "No, that's not it." I stared at her. Then Daniel pulled a folder from a drawer. My heart pounded. Inside were medical documents, test results, doctor reports. I looked at the papers without understanding. Then I saw my name. The smile disappeared from my face. Daniel spoke quietly. 6 months ago, during your medical checkup, the doctors found a serious condition." I felt the room spin. "What are you talking about?" "They called me because they couldn't reach you." My hands started shaking. Daniel continued. "The doctors wanted more tests. They were worried." I stared at him in disbelief. "Why didn't you tell me?" His eyes filled with tears. "Because I was terrified." Emily wiped her eyes. "I wasn't helping him hide an affair." I looked at her. "Then what were you doing?" She answered softly. "We were planning a surprise." I could barely breathe. Daniel opened another folder. Inside were reservation papers, travel plans, and treatment information from a medical center. "I wanted to take you there myself," he said. "We were trying to organize everything before telling you." The room fell silent. Every suspicion, every accusation, every sleepless night suddenly felt different. Then Daniel showed me the final recording from the teddy bear. I pressed play. His voice filled the room. "She suspects nothing." Emily laughed. Then Daniel continued. "Good. Let's keep the surprise secret until her birthday." My eyes filled with tears. I had never heard the second half of the recording. I had only heard what came before. The toy had stopped playing before the rest. For weeks, I had been building a story in my head, a story that was completely wrong. Emily began crying. I would never do that to your family. I looked at her and realized she was telling the truth. Daniel stepped closer. I love you. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then I wrapped my arms around him. The fear, the anger, the doubt, all disappeared. Later that evening, we sat together as a family. Lily played happily with her teddy bear, the same toy that had almost destroyed everything. Sometimes the truth is not hidden. Sometimes we simply stop listening too soon. And that almost cost me the people I loved most.